Objection handling. If you are making cold calls or sending cold emails or conducting any sort of cold outreach, you're definitely running into objections. Prospects are telling you they're not interested, to take them off your list. They're telling you they already have a solution, etc. In this video, what I want to give you is a simple objection handling framework that will work on just about every objection. So, caveat here being that it won't work every time, but this framework will help you at a higher percentage clip handle some of your most common objections. My name is Jason Bay. I run a company called Outbound Squad. I teach frameworks like this to reps and sales teams at some of the fastest growing software companies in the world, companies like Gong, Zoom, Medallia, Rippling, and many more. And I want to give you the framework that I teach them. So, objections. If we step back and think about the state of cold calling, what has gotten really hard over the years is getting people to pick up the phone. If you're lucky, about 5% of the people that you call will pick up the phone. So, what does this mean for you? Well, the average rep, once a prospect picks up the phone, will convert 5 to 10% of those live conversations into a meeting. Above average reps will do about 30%. So when you look at the difference between 5 or 10% and 30%, and then a 5% connection rate, think of how many phone calls you would have to make in a given week in order to have a conversation, and then do the math on how many meetings that you would win. If you're an account executive or someone that's doing full cycle sales, it doesn't make sense to be average at cold calling. The difference between someone that converts at 5 or 10% and then 30% is a combination of their talk track, their confidence, etc. But a lot of it is their ability to handle objections. So the framework works like this. The thinking is that when a prospect gives you an objection, they are conditioned to a salesperson trying to handle that objection. We don't have budget. Oh, but we have a free trial. We already have a solution. Well, wouldn't you want to know what's available to you? And we go in with straight logic on how to handle the objection, and we don't first acknowledge the objection to disarm the prospect. So your goal when objection handling, when you get an objection, is not to handle the objection right away. Your goal is to have genuine dialogue with the prospect. And one of the best ways to do that is to disarm them. So I'll give you an example and then I'll show you a couple of talk tracks that you can use. Not interested. So the first thing that we want to do, the framework works like this. It's EVO. It's empathize and validate, and then offer. So the empathize and validate is we want to acknowledge and greet the objection. And oftentimes it's as simple as this. When someone says not interested, it's, oh, totally understandable. Or, hey, I know I called you in the middle of your day, so I sort of expected you to say that. Any variation of that, there's a bunch of different ways that you can acknowledge the objection, but you want to acknowledge to the prospect and let them know that their answer was okay. And then the second part is I'm going to go into the offer. And there's many different schools of thought on like how to go about this and what to say. I'm giving you a way to do it that I find to be pretty effective. Not interested. Hey, totally hear ya. Usually when I'm speaking with contact center leaders like yourself, the number one priority they have is reducing call center volume, and they're just having a heck of a time figuring that out. Am I totally barking up the wrong tree here, or is this something that you're focused on? So what I did there with the offer is I want to show them that, hey, I talk to a lot of people like you. Here's the number one problem that it's really the number one problem their solution fixes, but it's the number one problem that they hear. Does that align with you? And you know what? You might get a prospect that says no and still doesn't want to talk to you. A higher percentage, excuse me, of the time that you do this, you might get some really good engagement around it. Okay. So again, that's empathize and validate. I need to disarm the prospect, and then I'm going to go in for my ask. So let's take a look at a couple of more templates here. All right, so I just have my email open and I just wanted to show you some of these templates that you can get access to in the description around objection handling. There's a couple of the more common objections that you're going to get, especially in a cold call. Let's take the send me an email one as an example. So someone asks you to send them an email. Probably get this a lot, right? The empathize and validate, I'm just going to agree with them and say, oh yeah, happy to, not a problem. Part number one around get more info, what I want to do here around the offer is I want to get a little more intel around what they want to see in that email, because how many times have you sent an email to a prospect that said, send me an email, and then they never respond back to you? It happens 99.9% of the time. So essentially what I want to do here is get more info. Hey, so I can get the right info to you. Usually what I hear from contact center leaders is that reducing call center volume is the number one focus. And they have a lot of self-serve options on the website, but none of them seem to be working. How does that resonate with you and your team? I want to get them talking. And usually a third, half the time when I do this, I get them talking about something because I've really kind of nailed the language around that problem. So think about what that is for you if you're watching this. Step two is I'm going to ask for the meeting. So prospect might say, yeah, it's something we've been working on and, yada, yada, yada. Got it. The reason I ask is that's exactly what we've helped companies like Nordstrom with. How about this? Like most of what I would email you would absolutely be like super generic. And I think it'd be more valuable if we could look at this through a lens that's more specific for your business. Do you by chance have your calendar handy and we can get something set up? If you get resistance there, one of the tricks I love to pull out of my back pocket is, hey, no worries. How about I put 5 minutes on the calendar for tomorrow at the same time once you've had a chance to look over the email? And if you like what we see, you keep the meeting. If you don't, you cancel it. Does that sound fair? That's a really good way to handle that objection. If you check out the magical objection handling pack, some templates and talk tracks around handling not interested, send me an email if someone says they're using a competing solution. So make sure to go check those out. And thanks for checking out the video today.